Of all the members of the Morag Tong I've spoken with, none disturbed me as much as Minda's Turek. A quiet and reserved man who never drank, never visited a brothel, or even uttered a curse. He was famous for his ability to make people disappear. Once a person was targeted by the Brotherhood, and Torek was sent to them. They would simply cease to be. I asked him once what his weapon of choice was, and was equally startled by his answer. I only like to use axes, he said in his typical, quiet voice. The image of this silent, dour fellow attacking anyone with a weapon as inherently bloody and violent as an axe so frightened and intrigued me that I questioned him about it further. This is an inherently dangerous activity, for assassins are not typically keen to give out their stories. Torek did not mind the questions, though it took some time to get the full story out of him, as naturally shy and reserved as he was. It seemed that Torek had been orphaned at a very young age and sent to live with his uncle, a salt rice plantation owner in Chirograd in northern Vardenfell. The man promised to show his nephew the business and eventually make him a partner when he was old enough. In the meantime, the boy was put to work as his uncle's house servant. It was a grueling life, as the old man was very particular about how things should be done. The boy was first required to give all the floors in the house a thorough scouring from the attic to the cellar. Whenever the floor was not cleaned to the uncle's satisfaction, which was frequent, Torek was thrashed and forced to begin again. The boy's second duty was to ring the bell that would bring the labourers into the house. This was done at least 4 times a day, once for each meal, but if his uncle had any news or additional instructions for the labourers, which he frequently did, the bell might need to be sounded a dozen times or more. It was a huge iron bell in the tower, and the boy quickly discovered that he had to throw his entire body into motion of pulling the chain in order to have a sound loud enough to bring everyone in from the field. If he was tired and did not pull the back-breaking chain hard enough, his uncle soon would be at his side to beat him until he rang the bell loud and clear. Torek's third task was dusting all the shelves in the uncle's vast library. As deep and old as the shelves were, he was required to work with a long, heavy duster on a rod. The only way that he could reach to the back of the shelves was to hold the duster at his shoulders, and then swing it out in a sweeping motion. Again, if the uncle saw any dust left over, or felt that the boy was not working as hard as he ought to, the punishment was swift and severe. After several years, Mindez Turk grew into a young man, but his job responsibilities were not increased. His uncle promised to teach him the business once Turek had demonstrated his mastery of his servile assignments. Divorced from any knowledge of any work other than his own, Turek never knew how badly in debt his uncle was, or how poorly his farm's yield was. In his 18th year, Turek was called into the cellar by his uncle. He thought that he had not done a good enough job scouring the floors down here, and was frightened of the beating to come. What he found, however, was his uncle packing his goods into crates. "I'm leaving Morrowind," he explained. "The business has gone sour, so I thought I might try my luck running a caravan in Skyrim." "I understand. There's good money to be made trading fake Dwemer artifacts to the Nords and Cyrodiils. I wish I could take you with me, my lad, but there won't be much need for scouring, bell pulling, and dusting where I'm going. But uncle, said Turek, I can't read. I knows nothing of the business either you promised to teach me. What wheels I do on my own. I'm certain you can find a job in some domestic capacity, shrugged the uncle. I've done my best with you. Turek had never stood up to his uncle before, and felt no anger, only a sort of coldness that gripped his heart. Among his uncle's possessions, being packed away, was an old heavy iron axe, allegedly of Dwemer manufacturer. He picked it up in his hands, and was surprised to find that it was not much heavier than his dusting rod. In fact, it felt very comfortable as he pulled it over his shoulder and swung it out, as he had done so many times. In this instance, however, he swung it at his uncle's right arm. The old man screamed with pain and rage, but for some reason, Turek didn't feel frightened anymore. He propped the axe against his other shoulder and swung it out again. It cut a swath across the old man's chest as he fell to the floor. Turek hesitated before lifting the axe above his head. It was another natural position for him, like he was ringing the bell. Over and over again he swung down, as if he was calling the labourers in from the field. Except that this time there was no sound, except for a wet thud, and no labourers came in from the field. Of course, his uncle had sent them away hours before. After a time, there was nothing left of his uncle that couldn't be washed down the cellar drain. The process of cleaning up came easily to Turek as well. Blood scrubbed up much quicker than the usual grime and salt rice flour that littered the cellar floor. It was well known that Torek's uncle was planning to leave Morrowind, so his disappearance provoked no suspicion. The house and all the belongings were sold to the debt collectors, but Turek took the axe. It seems that his uncle had given him some worthwhile business skills, after all.